So beginning this morning lying down, having any support you feel you need for under the head, maybe a folded blanket, and then taking a few moments just to find a position that works for you. Just a gentle reminder to take the feet away from you. If you feel like you want a little bit more support in the lower back, gently bring them in towards the torso. If you feel that's okay for the lower back, the lumbar spine, you have more of a natural curve there in the lumbar spine. So finding your preferred position, and feet can be hip distance or wider. Sense of grounding through the feet, in a sense that the feet are parallel. Maybe you're able to soften the shoulders a little, allow them to move towards the mat. And the hands can rest by the side of the body or maybe on the belly. And become aware of the back of the neck. So you may want to try tucking the chin, so bringing the chin towards the chest by about 1 centimetre, and immediately you'll notice there's a little bit more length in the back of the neck, in the head. So taking a moment just to play with that, see if that offers you a little bit more support, feels a little bit more balanced. But most importantly, ensuring you feel supported, comfortable for the next few minutes as we begin to tune into our breath. Breathing in and out through your nose if that feels possible this morning. Beginning to notice how the breath's feeling, so maybe the texture of the breath, whether it feels smooth or rough. Where the breath is moving to, where you can feel the body moving as you inhale and exhale. Maybe you notice the origin of the breath. So as you breathe in, where the breath sort of begins. And maybe you bring your awareness to the length of the inhalation and the length of the exhalation. They may be even, one may feel longer than the other. And with all these breath awareness techniques, or bringing our focus on noticing the different elements of our breath, there's no judgment. It's just encouraging us to really focus and be present and connect with our breath, connect with how it is this morning, how we're feeling. And then placing your hands on your belly if they're not already there. And directing the breath into the belly. So with the hands on the belly, we're able to use our sense of touch to guide the breath. So as you breathe in, the belly's rising. And as we breathe out, the belly's falling. And the navel can gently draw back towards the spine. Just when you're ready, bringing the hands up to the front of the rib cage. So allowing the elbows to rest either side of your body on the mat on the floor beside you. Hands on the rib cage. And using again our sense of touch here to direct the breath. So the focus is breathing into the front of the rib cage. And finally, gently moving the hands to the upper chest. Fingertips maybe resting around the collarbones. Trying to find a suitable position so you feel your elbows are allowed to, can be supported on the ground beside you. And then directing the breath into the upper hands, into the upper chest. So directing the breath into the upper lobes. We work through the lower lobes, the lowest part of the lungs, the mid lobes. And now the upper lobes. It's almost like we're waking up the lungs, just ensuring the breath is reaching each part, maximizing our lung capacity. Gently releasing the hands either back towards the belly or maybe to rest on either side of your mat on the floor. And we're going to connect the breath. So it may help to visualize filling a glass of water. We're filling the belly, then the middle, mid-chest, the rib cage, and then the upper chest. And as we breathe out, we're aiming to empty the breath from the upper chest, then the mid-chest, the mid-lobes, and then the belly. So we're breathing in and breathing out. And noticing if it's coming easily, if it feels like it's flowing, it's soft, it's gentle. Maybe it feels like a lot of focused effort, and that's okay too. So all the electrical currents and connections happening in the brain as we focus on this, whether it's flowing easily or it feels a little difficult, a little bit more of an effort, we know that with that brain connection, it's creating the same benefit. We're still turning on our rest and digest side of our nervous system, supporting the whole body in lots of ways. And coming back to this breath as we work through physical movements this morning, using it as a guide so we know whether we've gone a little bit too far into a shape, an asana, or we feel the breath is restricted anyway. Coming back, focusing on the breath, nurturing this full inhalation and full exhalation. Gently drawing the right knee in to begin with, placing the hands either on the front of the knee or just behind on the back of the thigh. Allowing the knee, the leg to settle there. And then maybe you draw the right knee in a little bit further towards the chest. And bring some movement to the right foot. So pointing and flexing, just waking up the ankle, the toes, making some circles. It'll feel really nice to stretch the toes and then sort of scrunch them up. Working through the toe joints, which we don't often do. Placing the left hand down on the floor beside you and taking the right knee out towards the right hand side. Just a gentle movement here, looking for maybe a little bit of a stretch on the inside of the right thigh, maybe into the hip flexors. Slowly coming back to center, left hand on the knee, right hand resting, and bringing the right knee towards the left hand side. So a lovely gentle way of waking up the hips, the hip joint, the socket in the morning. And slowly releasing the right leg, placing that down. And we'll work through the left leg now. So drawing it in to begin with, just allowing this to settle here. So we can take a moment to notice what's going on the left, in the left hip. So we know each side of our body is going to feel a little bit different. You may feel you want to draw the left knee in towards the chest a little more, and then bringing movement to the left foot. Pointing and flexing, maybe bringing some circles through the ankle, and maybe stretching the toes out and crunching them up. So working through the joints of the toes as well. Gently releasing the left leg down, and we're going to come into a very gentle version of supine or lying down pigeon. So the outside of the right foot's coming onto the front of the left leg. We're not going to raise the leg yet this morning, but if we want a little bit more, we can take the right hand to the inside of the right thigh and gently push it away. Releasing the right leg, placing the right foot on the floor, and then we'll take that on the other side. So the outside of the left ankle is resting on the front of the right thigh. This might be enough for the hip, or maybe you gently apply a little pressure to the inside of the left thigh, pushing it away. Gently releasing that side, unraveling the legs and drawing the knees in for a little hug. Asana, so gently drawing the knees in and letting them go so we're able to massage the abdomen. And gently placing the feet back on the floor. Extending through the left leg. So the left leg's lying on the mat. Right knee's bent. Drawing the right knee in a little and taking the left hand towards the right knee as we gently roll towards the left hand side. So you may find you come to a certain point, that's enough. If you can, we're allowing the right knee to come down towards the floor. It can be quite a strong spinal twist, so only come as far as you feel you're able to. You can support that leg if you've come far enough and they're still hovering above the mat. The hand can hold the right knee. And then we're reaching out with the right hand. Now, depending on how your shoulder's feeling this morning, it can be a very gentle reaching out, sort of T shape at shoulder height. Maybe you take it further. It's more of a diagonal away from you, reaching through the fingertips. So the lymphatic system supports the immune system. It's like a fluid that takes away, removes toxins from the blood. We have lymph nodes, kind of special points through the body, and one of them is kind of around the armpit area. It's always great to make space in the shoulders, around the armpit, upper arm, to support this system. Releasing the hand on the arm, the right arm, and then gently encouraging the right knee back to center. And we'll take that on the opposite side. So right leg is extending, drawing the left knee in a little, taking the right hand towards the outside of the left knee and gently rolling over. And if you get to a point that feels enough, knowing that you can have the elbow on the floor, just support the left knee. Maybe you come all the way over, it's a stronger twist. Left hand resting on the ground beside you, maybe it comes a little further around. Or maybe you take strongest diagonal stretch through the arm, creating more space around the armpit. So with everything in yoga, we're listening to our body, trying to allow it to guide us. We're looking for sthira and sukha, steadiness and ease. So ensuring we can breathe, almost at that lovely slow pace we nurtured at the start. And there's no strain or no pain. It's a sense of creating space and stretching. Releasing the left hand and then using the right hand to gently encourage the left knee back up to center and dropping the feet back in. We'll give them a hug and maybe take some circles here just to massage the lower back. Taking your time to roll over onto one side and gently roll up. And coming into slightly strange position. I always find it really hard to describe this position. So what I have done here, legs are extended. My left leg, the left heel's come towards the left hip, and the right foot has come towards the thigh, actually the quads on the left leg. So it's a little bit of a kind of jigsaw. Finding a position that works. If anything's too tight, knees are too sore, coming into a soft spiraling here and gently windscreen wipering the knees. As we've come into this position, we've warmed up the hips a little, hopefully, for this. We're going to find length. And this is where a little bit of support can really help. So sitting a little bit higher may take just a little bit of pressure off knees, but enable us to lengthen through the lumbar spine. From here, we're just very gently twisting towards the right hand side. Coming as far as you feel comfortable. And as the body gets used to the movement, maybe you take it a little further. And slowly coming back to center, releasing the legs. You may even want to take them out in front of you, move them a little, and then we'll take that same position on the other side. So the right foot is coming, tucking round almost towards the right hip, and then the left foot is coming towards the thigh or the quads here. Just taking a moment to find the position that works for you. It's a sort of a zigzag, I call it a zigzag pose. Finding again, lengthen the spine. And then very gently turning towards the left-hand side. So taking small movements with each breath. Maybe the gaze goes a little further around. Hands are there to support you, whether that's lifting through the spine or just helping you find balance. And gently releasing all the way back round. We're going to take our time to come to standing. So gently coming out of that position, making any movement you feel your legs need. Gentle wiggle through the knees. And we'll come to standing this morning and stretch out through the side of the body. So we've got the muscles that support the breath, the intercostal muscles that help the rib cage expand. So we're going to come into a side stretch to really create some more space there. Feet can be hip distance or a little bit wider, just making sure you feel grounded, stable, softness in the knees, and then there's a length through the spine. You may find you can lift the sternum just a little more without overarching the back, but creating some more space in the upper chest. Very gently moving towards the right hand side, keeping this open chest here for the breath, lots of space in the torso for the breath. And then maybe you take the left hand up and over. Real softness in the elbow. You're welcome to reach all the way over if that's what you feel you want, but always keeping a micro bend in the elbow. Mindful of shoulders, if there's any tightness, just allowing the hands to rest. And then slowly coming back to center. And we'll move to the other side. So very gently side bending towards the left hand side. And just working out what's happening down the left side of the body. Sorry, the right side of the body. And then maybe you reach up and over with the right hand. Slowly coming back to center, releasing the hand. And we'll give the shoulders a roll. So gently bringing some movement to the shoulders. I'm starting to move my hands and my arms as well, bringing that into the movements. And then as we get a little further, maybe you start to make the movement stronger. It's almost like an exaggerated movement up towards the ears, as far back as you feel able to, back, round and forwards. So it becomes almost like a cat-cow motion, a ripple through the shoulders, getting into the upper back. And then taking your time, rotating in the opposite direction. Taking one more rotation here. And slowly releasing the arms back down to the sides of the body. We'll start to wake up the legs. So This morning we're going to come into a forward fold to wake up the legs. I like to have my feet hip distance apart. It's really personal preference. The feet can be a little bit closer together. They can be a little bit wider. It's making sure you feel stable once you come down. So feel free to adjust the foot position, the feet position, once you come into a forward fold. The main thing is to have a softness in the knees, so we haven't locked the knees, softness in the shoulders. And to begin with, we'll have the hands on the hips. And as we fold forwards, we're leading with the heart, so we know we're folding from the hips. And we're coming down, 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 down. Once you've come as far as you feel you can, allow the head, the neck to relax, keeping the softness in the knees, bending the knees as much as you feel you need to. And then the hands can either come down, maybe they reach the mat, or they hold opposite elbows. This is called dangling pose. It's a yin yoga shape. You can feel really supportive just holding onto the elbows, allowing the shoulders to move away from the ears, tucking the chin for a little bit more length at the back of the neck. Sitting bones reaching up towards the sky, but making sure there's no pain. So if it's very strong in the hamstring and the calf muscles, bending into the knees a little more. You may then want to rock into your heels and gently on your toes, a very small movement. And this is really to help us find a sort of center point. So we have a sense that the weight of our body is even across the soles of our feet. Releasing the hands. Hands can come back towards the hips. On the next inhalation, bending into the knees a little bit more so we can really power through the feet to very, very slowly come up to standing. Head comes up last. And back into almost Tadasana mountain pose. So we'll come through 3 half sun salutations this morning. Waking up the back of the legs. We'll take this slowly, really trying to find space in the hamstrings and the calf muscles, gently, slowly. Breathing in, reaching up towards the sky. Breathing out to fold forwards, leading with the heart. Breathing in, we'll bring the hands to the shins and we'll come up quite high because we're going to take a full breath here into the lungs, expanding the rib cage in all directions. On the exhalation, slowly folding down, back into Uttanasana. As we breathe in, bending into the knees, reaching up towards the sky with the hands. And gently allowing them to float back down to the sides of the body. We'll take that again, breathing in, reaching up. Breathing out to fold forwards, leading with the heart. Breathing in, coming into a flat back, hands to shins, gaze towards the floor. Breathing out to fold forwards. Bending into the knees, breathing in to reach up. And breathing out to float the arms back down. We're going to come into a little bit of a flow, really slow flow, and taking it very, very easy in stages. Take any modifications you feel you need, whether that's padding for knees or just taking an edge off. We know when we've gone too far. So I always like to say I'm a guide rather than a teacher. So really listening and thinking about what's happening in your body, what feels right. So standing at the top end of the mat, just so we have space to step back. Finding our length through the spine. You may want to lift all the toes and spread the toes. We warmed up the toes briefly this morning. Spreading the toes, placing them back down, and having that sense of grounding through the feet. As we lift the toes, you notice parts of the foot and the feet engage. We have those points of contact. And as we spread the toes and place them back down, can we keep that lift, that points of contact? As we breathe in, reaching up towards the sky. Breathing out, folding forwards, leading with the heart. Breathing in, hands to shin, shoulders away from ears into a flat back. And breathing out to fold forwards. We're going to take a breath here. Find a bit more space in the back of the legs. Check the chin is tucked a little to relax the back of the neck. Sitting bones reaching up towards the sky. We're going to bend into the knees a little more and step the right foot back and drop the right knee. So coming into a lunge position here. Looking for the left knee to be above the left ankle. And from here, we're coming up, hands on hips. So finding the position that works for you here. You may want to bring the knee back in a little or take it further back for a stronger stretch. This alignment of the left knee joint really safe directly above the left ankle. So really lovely strong alignment there. From here, you're welcome to stay here, or maybe you raise the arms, breathing in to reach up. The gaze can follow. So we've come into Anjani asana, lunge. Hands are quite far apart, trying to keep the space in the upper chest this morning. So we've really worked on cultivating space for the breath, waking up the breath. And on the next exhalation, releasing the hands, bring the hands back down to the sides of the body. Folding forwards, and then we'll bring the left leg back onto our knees and onto all fours. Listening to the wrists here, with the first time we've been on our hands. If the wrists feel tight, rolling up the front edge of your mat and taking a little bit of height under the fingers. It's going to just release anything and relieve any tension in the wrists. There's always the option though of making a sort of soft fist here as well. Spreading the hands, thinking about weight distribution through the hands. So just encouraging the weight to be even from the thumb to the little finger. Inner elbows then rotate to face each other, and then the shoulders move away from the ears. I'm exaggerating the movement here, but shoulders really moving away. We're going to come into cat-cow, just 4 rounds. So looking forwards to drop the belly, sitting bones reaching towards the sky, and then curling the spine round and taking the gaze towards the knees or the navel. Breathing in to come forwards, dropping the belly into cow, and breathing out to tuck the tailbone and look behind us. Making sure the knees feel supported, the wrists are okay, the softness in the elbows, and the breath is a guide. So if it feels a little too much to work with the breath and the movement as one, just making sure you're breathing. Creating more space in the spine. Slowly making our way back to center, to a neutral spine. And then we're going to come into extended child's pose. This is maybe where the toes can come together and the knees can come a little bit wider, knowing that you can have a little bit of support under here, a rolled blanket. And we're taking the hands in front of us, about shoulder width apart, gazes towards the floor. If you know the forehead can come towards the mat, it can rest there. You're welcome to have some support, a couple of blocks or bricks, pillows, whatever you have to hand under the forehead, encouraging a softness in the shoulders. And as the hands extend, you may want to apply a little pressure through the fingertips. It's going to bring a bit more length to the back of the body. You may feel that. And on the next inhalation, we're coming back up slowly into our box position. And we'll bring the right foot forward. So coming into a lunge on the other side, stepping the right foot forwards here. Bringing the hands to the hips, right knee directly above the right ankle, safe position there for the knee joint. And then maybe you bring the hands up again towards the sky. Gaze can follow if the neck's happy. The more you look up, the more of a back or back arch, lumbar spine, back bend you'll have. Being mindful not to throw the head back, it's controlled, it's soft. And as we exhale, release the hands and come into almost like a runner's lunge position. From here, we need to come back to our forward fold. So tucking the left toes and bringing the left foot to parallel to the right. We're back into a forward fold here, Uttanasana. Softening the shoulders. And we're going to bend into the knees. Power through the feet to slowly reach up towards the sky. And allow the hands to float back down to the sides of the body. So we'll come through that on the other side. I'm just changing positions. Give me a slightly different perspective this morning. So making sure you feel grounded through the feet to begin with, spreading the toes, finding that sense of lift through the arch, even as the toes reach the mat. Breathing in, reaching up. Breathing out, folding forwards. Breathing in, coming to our flat back position, shoulders away from ears, gaze towards the floor. And breathing out to fold forwards. Bending the knees as much as you can. I'm going to step the left foot back and drop the left knee. So we're coming into our lunge on the other side. Right knee directly above the right ankle. And then coming up to hands on hips. Breathing in, maybe you bring the hands overhead. Gaze can follow if the neck's happy today. Softening the shoulders away from the ears. Softening the jaw. And watching the breath. So really noticing how the breath is expanding the rib cage as you breathe into the lungs. On the next exhalation, folding forwards. And this is where we're going to step into our cat-cow or box position. So bringing the right foot back and the right knee in line. Setting the hands up. Supporting the wrists if they need a little support. Softening the shoulders away from the ears. We're going to take 4 rounds of cat-cow. So breathing in to look forwards, to drop the belly. Breathing out to curl the spine round and to tuck the chin. Breathing in to look forwards. Breathing out to curl the spine round. Coming through 2 more rounds of this. Beginning to notice maybe a little bit more space in the back of the body. And coming to our neutral spine, we're tucking back into an extended child's pose again. Big toes together, knees wide apart, just making sure you have any padding for feet or underneath the knees. And then slowly bringing the hands forwards a little, encouraging the shoulders though to stay away from the ears. So we want to keep that space around the neck. Shoulder blades are drawing down the back. Gazes towards the floor. So maybe you're looking towards the floor, maybe you have some support under the forehead, maybe the forehead rests on the mat. Just making sure your neck is in line with the spine. And then there's the option there just to gently apply some pressure through the fingertips, the pads of the fingers. And noticing a little bit more length in the back of the body, a bit of movement. And then very slowly, mindfully coming back into our box position. Left foot stepping forwards. We're going to come into a lunge on the other side. So left knee's directly above the left ankle. Hands on hips, and maybe breathing in, reaching up towards the sky. Exhaling to fold forwards, bringing the hands towards the mat into a sort of runner's lunge. And then we're bringing the right foot parallel with the left into our forward fold at Uttanasana. Bending the knees as much as you need to. So trying to make it as supportive as you can. Tucking the chin. Bending into the knees. Breathing in to really power through the feet. Reaching up towards the sky. And breathing out to bring the hands back down to the sides of the body. Finding, again, a stable stance. We're going to come into tree, balancing pose. I'm going to advise you don't look at me because I might wobble. So you may want to turn. Sometimes the mats can feel, if you're using a mat, can feel a bit slippy. So it can be quite nice to come to floor or carpet, wherever you are. And we're going to begin by grounding through the right foot. So as I ground through the right foot, I'm having a look and I'm spreading my toes. And the main thing here is to make sure the toes are pointing forwards, because that will change the balance if they're kind of squint slightly either way. Always a softness in this knee. So we have a tendency to lock the knee as we come into standing balances. A softness here and making sure the quads are turned on. So as we tense the thigh muscle, you may notice if you have the hand on the knee here, as you tense the thigh muscle, there's a little bit of movement around the knee, and we're just engaging the muscles around the knee and supporting the knee in that way. So as you tense up the thighs, the quads, it'll feel like the leg is straight, almost locked, but it's not quite. We're just supporting the knee and the muscles there. Always really important to keep our joints safe. Hands can come onto hips, and we're going to begin by turning out the left leg. So my left toes are still on the floor, left heel coming to the inside of the right leg. And this is tree, so you're welcome to stay here. Finding a drishti point, we call it in yoga, a point of focus, which is going to help us balance. Something that's not moving in front of you. And then from here, maybe you bring the left foot to the inside of the right calf. Making sure the right quads are turned on. And you're welcome to bring the hands together at heart center, so Anjali Mudra. If you feel balanced here, and you're able to raise the arms overhead, reaching up through the fingertips. Palms can stay apart, so wide apart, supporting shoulders. Or if you feel got the mobility, you can bring the hands together and reach up. If you're wobbling at all, using support, so even having a wall close by can act as a support, even if you're not using it. Making sure the quads are still turned on to support the right knee. Releasing the hands. If you did raise the hands can come back towards the hips. Releasing the left leg and releasing the right. You may want to bend the right knee. So our standing balances bring wonderful focus to the mind, concentration. But also you'll notice all the weights in one leg. So we're building bone density, we're really strengthening the bones. Great, important, I should say, as we get older. So we're going to ground through the left leg now. So again, spreading the toes, finding that stable base. I like to look and make sure I've spread my toes. And then have a softness in the knee. Softness, micro bend in the knee, and then turning the quads on. So really protecting the knee here. Hands coming to hips. Starting position, right toes on the floor and right heel. Finding your point of focus, your drishti point, to help you balance. And this is tree pose. I like to remind myself sometimes that this is tree. This might be my tree some days, instead of coming into the full balance. If you feel you want to take the next step, right foot is coming to the inside of the left calf. And then the hands can come to heart center. Finding that lift, that rooting through the left foot. And then maybe you raise the hands, raise the arms. Reaching through the fingertips, whether the hands come together, the palms come together, or the hands, the arms stay apart. A softness in your face and the jaw, making sure you're breathing. On the next exhalation, releasing the hands can come to the hips. Gently releasing the right leg and the left, and gently bring a bit of movement there as well. So finding strength and balance this morning. And we're slowly going to make our way back down towards our mats. So coming to sitting actually, and I'm going to suggest some height if you have some. It's not necessary, you don't have to. As I come into Dandasana, staff pose, what I find is if I've got some height under my glutes, my lower back can find a bit more space. So if I demonstrate without, it's just a little bit harder. I sink a little bit lower. It's much harder work. And actually my lower back just doesn't feel happy doing that. So listen to your body. If height supports you, please do take it. And to begin with, we'll find Dandasana. We're going to come into a forward fold here. Hands either side of the hips. So we're really trying to find a lift here, rooting down through the sitting bones, but a lift as well. If the hands come a little further back, you'll find a little bit more of a lift and a bit more space in the upper chest. Toes, feet are active. And we're beginning to quieten down, get ready for relaxation. So we're going to bend the knees, keep the feet flexed, strong bend, and we're going to come into a forward fold. And the aim here is for the belly to reach the thighs. So depending on how high the knees need to come, just make sure that happens. Quietening here of the body. Breathing in, breathing out. And as we fold forwards, belly's coming towards the thighs. It's almost like we're trying to reach the heart towards the toes. Hands can come forwards, rest either side on the floor. Take the gaze towards the knees. And once you're here, maybe you come forwards a little further. If you can, take hold of ankles or feet, making sure it's a really gentle hold. So we're creating quite a restful Paschimottanasana, forward fold. Making sure there's still space in the lower back. And coming back to our breath here. So when we were starting the class today, we were breathing in the front of the body. And so here we're going to try and breathe into the back of the body. Coming back to focus on the inhalation and the exhalation. Maybe you can imagine or visualize the breath moving into the lower back. So the area below the waist. And then into the mid back. So around the rib cage area, expand the rib cage outwards at the back of the body. And then in the upper back. So sort of shoulder blade area and upwards. You may not feel it, it might be a very small movement, but visualizing the breath as you breathe in, expanding the upper back. Gently sliding the hands along the floor to come back up to a seated position. And we're going to slowly make our way back down towards the mat for relaxation. So coming to lie on your back, making sure you've got any warm layers that you know you like to use, need jumpers, socks, maybe even a blanket. And a couple of options. Shavasana is always an option. Traditional Shavasana, lying down. Palms facing up towards the sky. However, if you do have a wall nearby and you want to come to legs up the wall, I'm just going to demonstrate the easiest way to come into it. It's not an easy one to come into. Coming to kind of sideways to a wall. And then as I lie down, I'm swinging my legs up. There's a little bit of shuffling needed. The feet can come to the wall. Arms can rest either side of the body. It feels really lovely, really supportive. Another option to this is having the legs on a chair. So the legs can rest on a chair there as well. But finding the position and shape that works for you. Making any final adjustments you feel you need. Any final movements. And as we start to come into relaxation, I wanted to share a reading from Donna Farey, one of my favourite yoga teachers. She lives in New Zealand. It's called "The Breath is the Water of Life." Our breath is constantly rising and falling, ebbing and flowing, entering and leaving our bodies. Full body breathing is an extraordinary symphony of both powerful and subtle movements that massage our internal organs, oscillate our joints, and alternately tone and release all the muscles in the body. It is a full participation with life. So as we've connected with our breath again, as we move into relaxation, noticing the ebb and flow, acknowledging how it nurtures whole body, all the body systems, each cell. And also maybe noticing the space you've created for the breath through the practice today. With each exhalation, allowing the body to soften a little more. A sense of being supported, being held by the earth. Encouraging the shoulders particularly to soften, the glutes, the hips, and the ankles and the feet, all the joints in the body that work so hard for us. Encouraging a softness across the facial muscles and the tongue to rest in the lower part of your jaw, your mouth. And focusing on the breath to encourage the mind into stillness. Bringing your awareness back into the space you're in, where you are in your room, and beginning to awaken the lungs from relaxation. You may want to take an inhalation and sigh the breath out. Bringing movement to the body slowly, mindfully. Taking your time and finding shapes that support you, your body at this time. And eventually rolling over onto one side, knees bent, and arms supporting your head. Taking a few moments there, curled up, connected still with the earth, finding that support. And when you're ready, finally making your way up to a seated position, using any support or a chair. Finding length through the spine, softness in the shoulders. You're welcome to bring the hands together at heart center, joining both halves of the body together, both hemispheres of the brain. Thanking yourself for practicing yoga this morning. Maybe acknowledging or noticing how you feel, space, length you've created for the mind, the body and the breath. I'm going to take my hands to my forehead for kind thoughts, to my lips for kind words, and back down to heart center for kind actions. Om Shanti.